Welcome to understand SDG 17, Partnerships for the Goals. Revitalize the global partnership, bringing governments, businesses, and people together to achieve all 17 goals. Let's review about SDG 17.
All right, let's get into it. You've probably heard about the UN's big Sustainable Development Goals, right? Things like ending poverty, fighting climate change, all that good stuff. But have you heard about the one goal that's kind of the master key to all the others? The one that, if it fails, well, everything else could fail too. Today, we're unlocking that one.
So just think about this for a sec. What if the real secret to solving our planet's biggest headaches wasn't some shiny new invention, but just a much, much better way for all of us to team up?
Well, that is the exact idea behind Sustainable Development Goal 17, or SDG 17. See, this one isn't about clean water or good schools directly. Nope. Think of it as the official instruction manual for the whole project, the how-to guide that explains how countries, companies, and communities are supposed to cooperate to get all the other 16 goals done.
And that's exactly why you need to know about it. It might be the last goal on the list, number 17, but you could argue it's the most critical of all. It's the linchpin. It's what holds the entire 2030 agenda together. And without strong partnerships, believe me, the whole structure could just fall apart.
So, if SDG 17 is this big global how-to guide, what's actually inside? Well, it isn't just one vague idea. It's actually built on 5 very specific pillars that are supposed to support this massive global mission.
And here they are. First, you've got finance. I mean, that makes sense, right? Nothing happens without money. Then there's technology and capacity building, which is really all about sharing knowledge and skills, not just gadgets. After that comes trade, making sure the global economy is actually fair. And finally, you have systemic issues, which is kind of the boring but super important stuff, like having good data and smart, coordinated policies. Every single one is crucial.
Now, to really understand how this works, or, doesn't work, in the real world, we're going to zoom in on one country. We're looking at Pakistan, a place where for over 240 million people, SDG 17 isn't just some lofty ambition. It is, quite literally, a matter of survival.
The situation is so intense, in fact, that it's been said that for Pakistan, SDG 17 isn't a supporting goal. It is the central critical challenge. The ability to make these partnerships work isn't just a nice bonus, it's the entire game.
Just think about what that means. You want to build a school, run a hospital, fight climate change? Every single one of those things depends completely on how well the country manages its global partnerships. If that one central gear breaks, the whole machine just grinds to a halt.
So where's the biggest weak spot for Pakistan when it comes to SDG 17? Well, it all circles back to that very first pillar we talked about, finance. More specifically, the country is caught in a massive, totally overwhelming web of debt.
We can even pinpoint the exact problem. The main struggle is with Target 17.4, a tiny part of SDG 17 that talks about achieving long-term debt sustainability. For Pakistan, that isn't just a line in a UN document. It is an existential crisis.
$133 billion. Just let that number sink in. That's the mountain of external debt hanging over every single decision, every hope, every plan for the country's future.
And here's the part that is just devastating. Imagine if over half of your paycheck was already gone before you even had a chance to buy groceries or pay rent. That's the reality here. More than half of the entire national budget is spent just paying back loans and interest.
So, with half your money gone before you can even start, how are you supposed to pay for things like education and healthcare? Well, the answer is you can't. This creates a $60 billion hole every single year in the funding needed to hit those big development goals.
This chart tells the whole story, doesn't it? On one side, you have this giant bar representing the money going to pay off debt. And on the other, you have what's left over for literally everything else. Health, education, climate action, you name it. That imbalance is the whole problem right there.
Now, this whole crisis is really a two-sided coin. On one side, the country struggles to raise its own money, with one of the lowest tax collection rates in the region. And that, in turn, forces a huge dependency on outside partners like the IMF and the World Bank for loans, which, you guessed it, just keeps adding to the cycle of debt.
Now, even with this massive financial problem, it's not like Pakistan is cut off from the world.
Actually, the country's involved in a super complex portfolio of different partnerships, and each one comes with its own focus and its own set of rules.
I mean, look at this. They're juggling so many different players. You've got the big financial institutions like the IMF offering bailouts with a lot of strings attached. You have this massive infrastructure partnership with China. Then there are the more traditional partners like the US and the UK providing aid. And the UN is in the mix too, offering policy advice. It is an incredibly complex balancing act.
And while finance is the big flashing red light, that pressure bleeds into everything else. Remember those other pillars? On trade, the country's struggling to sell more of its goods globally. On technology, there's a desperate need for green tech for its climate goals. And on the systemic side of things, it's even hard to collect the basic data needed to track if any progress is being made at all.
Which brings us right back to where we started. After looking at all these different moving parts, one single issue keeps popping up as the linchpin, the one thing that seems to hold the key to unlocking everything else.
And here it is, the country's entire development agenda. All its hopes for a better, healthier, more prosperous future is essentially being held hostage by this one overwhelming financial problem. The debt is the bottleneck. Until Pakistan can get onto a more stable financial footing, all those other partnerships we talked about, the ones for technology, for trade, for policy, they just can't work the way they're supposed to. Getting the money sorted out is the absolute first step.
And so, that brings us to our final question. If SDG 17 is truly about a global partnership, then what is the world's responsibility when one nation's crushing debt makes achieving all those other noble goals pretty much impossible for 240 million people? That's something for all of us to think about. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for your time to learn, earn, and lead. This is Mohammad Zishan Awan, Advocate High Court. To join Vision 2047, please register with us and be part of the transformation.